If I look a little bit shiny, it's because I've just put on sunscreen, and you can't judge me for that because sun protection is always hot. Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews, and a video that has me somewhat nervous. I'm confronting my demons today. We're going to talk about my physical TBR. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know in 2020, I finished my TBR. I read every single book that I owned. I was feeling very smug about it. I was very pleased. I threw myself a tiny party. It was great. However, I then bought more books, as is the way of the world, and I've not been the best at reading them. I've been pretty good. Like, I have friends whose TBRs are 800, 900 books. I'm okay with what I have here, but I realised I didn't have much space in my schedule for reading them, and I wanted to re-hype myself up about these books, and also maybe just do a touch base about what I've got coming up in the next few months, and yeah, get them all into my schedule somewhere. They are currently in piles all around because I've just pulled them off my bookshelves, so if my bookshelves look weird, that's why. We're going to talk about them. I don't know how much detail I'm going to go into, I don't know how long this video is going to be. We're going to see how we go, and at the end we'll count them up and do the number of shame, okay? I have two categories. I have books that were sent to me for review, and books that, well, one book that was picked up by my wife for me to read at some point. So it came from the publisher and it was free, but it wasn't from the publisher for review. Anyway, we'll do the ARCs first because there's not very many of them, and that brings me great joy, although the ones I have been sat around for quite some time, so we should probably get on that. The most recent one is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. By the time you are watching this, I'm hoping I will actually have finished reading this. As you can see, I have purchased myself a finished copy, but the ARC edition is very similar. This is kind of a very classic V.E. Schwab to me, of this like main character who discovers a mystery in a house. I think it's going to be quite aesthetic. I think it's going to be quite beautiful to read. It's shorter than some of her other stuff, so we'll see if it feels kind of wishy-washy, why does this exist, or if it feels solid and good and exciting. I'm hoping for the latter because, as I say, I now own it twice. Not always something that happens. I tend to pre-order books because I don't assume that publishers are going to send me things, because why would I? And yeah, just on occasion you end up with duplicates of things. The book that my wife picked up from her work is Tales of Cat and Fisher, The Art of the Steal, which I think is the third book in something, maybe? Or short stories in that world? I think it's short stories in that world. So I don't know when I'm going to get to this, because I'd probably like to read book 1 and 2 first, I think. But this does have Adrian Tchaikovsky in it, so maybe. This is not a top priority of all of the books we're going to talk about. This is fairly low priority, to be honest. Similarly, A Radical Act of Free Magic. This was sent to me by Orbit, but unsolicited, so I didn't ask for it. They just sent it to me in case I would like to review it. I'm under no obligation to talk about any of these, by the way, just so you know. I haven't decided if I want to pick this up yet, and I keep telling myself I'm going to read 50 pages and see how I feel, and I've not yet done that. Quite a long time ago now. I like to get to ARCs within a month of getting them. That also hasn't happened with this next one. But with that one, it's because I know that I didn't love the first one, so I don't know if I want to pick up the second one, or maybe the second one will change my mind on the first one, but I'm not prioritising it. Dune. This is the special edition of Dune that Galanx published. I will show you the end papers and the spine because those are probably the fanciest bits. The spine, it has a big long quote on it. I don't know because I've never read Dune. It's a worm boy. And does the back have the same worm boy? No, it's a slightly different worm boy. My original intention, and possibly what will still happen, was to film a video that was along the lines of a reading vlog of I've never read Dune before, just to like really incite those people who come into YouTube comments and are like, oh, you haven't read Dune. So I thought that would be fun. However, when I had in my schedule to read Dune, I was super duper stressed at the start of February, and I never got to it. So it is still in my list. I've given myself 3 weeks to read it, which is plenty of time. I think in a few weeks, it might be this month, I can't remember, but I keep putting it back in because I would like to read this, because I'm very grateful to have been sent such a shiny, fancy thing, but I haven't got around to it, and I feel like the hype of Dune has significantly worn off. So those are all of the review copy books that I have, I'm pretty sure. I realised this book should have gone in an earlier segment, so we're gonna edit it back in earlier. This isn't actually called Murder Force's Unlikely Allies, which is what the cover says. It says Assassin's Orbit by John Apple, and much like the Cat and Fisher one, this was picked up off a table, therefore I've never prioritised it. Golden Girls meets The Expanse with a side of Babylon 5. I don't know. I really have to be in the mood for sci-fi. I've not been in the mood to pick this up, but it's on the list. Obviously, I have a full NetGalley TBR, which I don't think I'm going to go into in this video. I might film a separate video for it. I feel like that's a different thing though, because typically I have very much requested those books, and I often request them not really knowing that much about them, so I feel like you hear about them when I read them, and I'm much better about reading my NetGalley TBR, as evidenced by the fact that my physical TBR is just ginormous. Let's get on to these stacks. These are in no particular order because I have just pulled them off my bookshelf. I'm going to say a lot of these were gifted to me by friends and family and bookish people like yourselves. Thank you to everyone who has ever given me books. They are my favourite present to receive. I will keep asking for them, even when people are like, books? Again? Yes. Books again. So this first one I have read before. This is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is just in this list because I would like to do a reread of it, because I've never read this physical copy, and I would like to do that. I don't know why I mind reading it then, like you don't know what reading a book looks like. It's fine. I really enjoyed this book when I read it. It's been like 2 years now, and I would love to do a reread. I believe there is a sequel planned, or a companion book planned, so maybe we'll save it for then. But I thought it deserved to be on this list as an unread book, but I have read it before. Now we're on to, I'm pretty sure, all new stuff. Newish. Let's do the most recent stuff that I've talked about in videos recently, so you don't need to hear too much about it. A Far Wilder Magic, Sharpshooter, Alchemist. Excited to read it. Looks like it's going to be reasonably speedy romance YA. It's going to be a nice time. I'm excited. I'm going to say excited so many times in this video, you're just going to have to deal with it. That is in the schedule. Fire That Comes High by Rosie Thor. Magic is currency, social currency. Again, probably, if not romance, then deliberately going up against doing a romance. And I nearly said democracy really weirdly then. Democracy. And The Bright and Breaking Sea, which I know virtually nothing about except that this character has a sword and is wearing a seafaring costume, and therefore I want to read it because I am predictable. Those are all things that I've bought or brought into my life in the last 2 weeks. Let's go on to the stuff that's been sat around just a little bit longer. In the Serpent's Wake, I was so excited to read this. Why haven't I read this yet? Because I need to reread Tess of the Road first. And I kind of want to do a full Seraphina Shadow Scale Tess of the Road in the Serpent's Wake thing, just so I get the full experience, because they are one of my favourite series. This is one of my favourite depictions of dragons in books. I really liked Tess of the Road. I don't remember much about it now. It's been many years since I read it, but I was super excited for this book. I haven't read it yet. It came out near my birthday. In fact, it might have come out on my birthday. And this is the thing, I need videos like this to re-hype me about things. This is going in the schedule soon. Maybe I need to make like a prioritising pile, but I think this would just all be on the prioritising pile. Right, we're going to endeavour to make a prioritising pile. Prioritised. Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson. This is on my schedule. I think in the next month or so I'm rereading this whole series so I can not finish it but get back up to date with it, and also ahead of the Skyward Flight novellas coming out. This is YA, sci-fi, Brandon Sanderson, pilots, space, espionage. As I say, already in the schedule. Gonna make a video on the series. Excited about it. The Wounded Kingdom series by R.J. Barker. I own books 2 and 3, which I picked up in a charity shop probably within the last year, I hope. I'm basically just waiting to own book 1, really, and I just need to do a, they used to be called World of Books, but they're now called WOB. It's stupid. I need to do an order with them of the first book, just so I can read them all, because I'm fairly sure I'm going to love these, because I love R.J. Barker's writing, and I know Justine really liked these, and Justine and I align on taste fairly often. I like some assassin-y stuff. Kristen at Kristen is Fully Booked is doing an Assassin's read-along, and that might just be the excuse I need, read-a-thon I should say, that might be the excuse I need to finally get to these, and also be an excuse to make an order for secondhand books. Yes. I don't think those are like a high priority for me at the moment though. The delightful Angela sent me a birthday gift of 2 books. She sent me The Best of All Possible Worlds by Karen Lord. I reread Redemption in Indigo very recently, as you will know, and I was like so on it. But this is sci-fi, I believe? Yes, there are planets. Yes. A love story, a survival story, a story of hope. Yes, I'm into all of those things. I know Angela really likes Karen Lord's writing, and I'm like excited to get on board. I would like to read this. You know what? I'm going to go so far as to say I'm going to put it on the priority pile, along with the Ninth Reign series, Winnowing something. Yes? Winnowing Flame Trilogy. There we go. This is by Jen Williams, and this is actually a book that I nearly picked up in probably like I'm going to say 2017, and this is going to come out in 2018 or something. No, 2017, yeah, it came out in 2017. In the library, and I never did because I like the cover, but it wasn't like what I wanted at the time. Given that I was reading like Caraval quite happily, I wasn't wanting this at the time. And I've heard that it's amazing and got some good LGBTQ elements to it, and I would like to read it. So I'm going to pick it up, but I kind of want to own the whole trilogy so I can just bam, bam, bam. But we're going to put it in the priority pile because, again, books. My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I was dithering between buying this and the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires for my spooky readathon in October of last year. I opted to buy Southern Book Club's Guide, and then I saw this in a shop and I was like, well, now I can buy this one because I know I liked his writing in the other book. Justine, again, really like this. I've heard good things. I am gonna pop this fairly low on my priority list for the moment because I kind of want to save this for October, and my reading schedule is such that I think it will take me until at least October to read all of these. So I'm excited for this. This is high school sophomores who've been friends since 4th grade. Skinny dipping event goes terribly wrong, and possibly demon possession? I mean, given that it's an exorcism, that would make sense. But yeah, I think this is just going to be gloriously horror-y. I don't watch horror movies, ever, because I am a wimp, to the point where my wife wanted to watch The Quiet Place, and I watched it with her, but I watched it with, like, honky-tonk music playing the whole time, because it's the music that really freaks me out. So that was that. But I do really like horror movies as a genre and as a... I really like hearing about them, I like learning about them, I like hearing about the film theory around them and such, but I don't like watching them. They scare me too much. The Becca Cooper series by Tamara Pierce. I have Terrier and Bloodhound. I need to purchase Mastiff, because the first two were gifted to me and the third one I need to buy for myself. I love Tamara Pierce's writing. I don't know much about this, but given that they're named after dogs, I know I'm gonna love these. Why haven't I picked these up yet? I don't know. Again, I think a part of me is really waiting for the third book to be here, but I also haven't ordered the third book, so what am I doing? What am I doing with myself? I'm not going to put them on the priority pile because there are already too many books on the priority pile, but they are getting read this year, for sure. Probably the book that's been on this TBR the longest is The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang, and I've heard really good things about this, to the point where I've started it. I have a bookmark in it at 141 pages, and this bookmark is a receipt from a pottery trip I went on in July last year. Great, well done me. But I've heard really good things and I was really enjoying it, but then we moved house, and I put it down in the middle of the house move, and then never picked it up again for reasons. So this is going on the priority pile because I've started it. I should finish what I start. Likewise, weird one to put on the priority pile, but I think via audiobook I can manage it, possibly when Chorus of Dragons is all done. Count of Monte Cristo. I really wanted to read this along with the read-along that Stephanie was doing, but I couldn't get into it. Again, I think either we were moving or we had moved or something was going on. I never did. I'm up to page 39 of 1,300 or so that's not going great. But I would like to finish this. This was a gift from my brother. I wanted the achievement of this being done, but I'm not prioritising it because my brain doesn't want it. So it's going on the priority pile, but I think it's going to go as an audiobook. Maybe for like a whole month we'll work on it as an audiobook. Right? Maybe? How many books are on the priority pile? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's doable. I mean, it's like 7 books worth of pages, but that is doable. Legends and Lattes. This is another one that I've added fairly recently. This I'm just waiting for the day where I finished my TBR for that week and I just need something to pick up because I want to read this all in one go. I know I'm going to love this. It's going to be a cozy fun time. A cozy fun sapphic time indeed. I'm hyped. I haven't got to it yet. I'm just waiting for the perfect moment. Or not even the perfect moment, just a moment. A free moment. But I'm gonna put it in my schedule so that it at least has its time when its time comes. So I can just stop waiting for a TBR that I'm never gonna finish my weekly TBR. It's just not gonna happen. The Archer at Dawn. This is the sequel to The Tiger at Midnight, which I very much enjoyed. And I was sort of like, well, I'll just wait to read the sequel. And it's been years. And somebody gifted me this copy of the sequel, which I'm very excited to read, but I would like to reread book 1, and I'm a little nervous about it because, as we will know, my experience with YA duologies is either I really like them and I'm having a great time, or I'm kind of and I end up unhauling them. So, we'll see. It's not a priority. Okay, superheroes. This is Dreadnought, Nemesis Book 1 by April Daniels. I believe this is a trans superhero. There's hair attached to it. I don't know. It's not very long. I would like to read it. Similar to Legends and Lattes, I've kind of been saving it for when I just need something to read all at once, but that's not happening, so it's going in the schedule. Not super prioritised, but I am excited to get to it. I should say the majority of these were Christmas gifts, so they have only been on the TBR for like 3 months, which is very, very civil. If I haven't read them in 3 months, is it going to be another 3 months before I have a chance to read them, you know? Twilight Robbery, thank you so much, Asha. This was a gift from you. As you all know, I read all of my Frances Hardinge books that I had last year, and I liked them a lot, and I realised I'd never read the sequel to Fly By Night, which is Twilight Robbery. So I don't think I actually made a video for Fly By Night. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I genuinely cannot remember. But this is a sequel to Fly By Night, which features a wonderful goose called Saracen, and the fact that he is on the cover being a horrible goose makes me excited. It is a lovely day in fiction, and you are a horrible goose. The Grace of Kings. This is our Space Sirens pick for next month, I believe, so this is already on the schedule. This is fantasy. There are 4 books, which I'm excited for. I like a 4-book series. It's Ken Liu's debut novel and the first in the monumental epic fantasy series, The Dandelion Dynasty. I'm hyped to read this. I'm going to see if I can find an audiobook, because I found with Space Sirens, I'm better at conversation if I listen to the audiobook. I just am. So we'll see. But this is being read in April. Yay! Priority pile. You're already on there. Non-fiction, The Fabric of Civilization. This was from my mother-in-law. And this is a non-fiction book about clothes and fabric and stuff and textiles. And I would like to read it. Do I ever have time to read non-fiction? Similar to The City We Became, I have already read this book, but I would like to read it again, so it's on this list. This is Warbreaker. This copy was given to me by my sister-in-law. I'm planning that Brandon Sanderson project. I'm going to use Angela's reading order, and I'm going to read them and have a wonderful time, but I need to read them to do that, so yay, Warbreaker. And then Realmbreaker. Book titles are fun. This is by Victoria Aveyard, and I picked this up when we were in Gloucester a few weeks ago. I wanted to read this. I think it's going to be fun. Not too long, probably a good fun time. Red Queen is a silly fun time. This will hopefully be similar. And I believe the sequel is out or coming out soon, so if I read this in time for the paperback release for the sequel, if I like it, I can read that. You know, it's all a good time. Fun things. Not a priority, but it is on the TBR. Also on that Gloucester trip, I picked up Jadefire Gold. I'm thinking I'm going to try and read this with Justine, because I know she has a copy, and we could birdie read it. Justine, if you're watching this, please let me know. YA, similarly. It could be great. I could not like it. I don't know yet. We'll see. Not a priority other than if I message Justine, she's like, I want to start it today. I might move some things around. And, oh, this feels like a weird one to do last, but Hench. Natalie Zena Walscott. Walscott? Not sure how you pronounce your last name, Natalie. I do apologise. This is an anti-superhero tale. Smart, imaginative and evocative novel of love, betrayal, revenge and redemption, told with razor-sharp wit and affection, in which a young woman discovers the greatest superpower, for good or ill, is a properly executed spreadsheet. Love it. Love it. Want to read this. Love spreadsheets. Want to get to it. Am I going to prioritise it? How many books are in the priority pile? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, if I had one more, then that's like 7, which feels like a magical number, so we're going to put that in the priority pile and live our best lives. Now, as much as I would love to say I'm just going to ditch everything else and read these so I have nothing on my TBR again, I've realised that I really don't like a 0 TBR as a goal. I think what I want to do is to have read all of these by the end of the year, which feels very doable. Let's see how many there are. 30 books. 31 if you include the first Assassin's book. Well, okay, 32 then, because we should also probably include the 3rd book in the Tamara Pierce. No. We're going to talk about this like it's the books that we actually have. The books that I actually have at the moment is 30 books, but I will need to buy 2 more books to complete series that I only have chunks of. So let's call it 30 to 32 books to be read, with 9 months left in the year. That is... Don't judge me. 30 books and 9 months. It's about 3 1/3 books per month. I feel like my brain should have been able to do that. Let's not ask any more questions. Which I think is doable. So in my schedule, I'm going to try and put 3 books in per month. And if I get to them sooner, I get to them sooner. And if I don't, nothing actually bad happens when your TBR grows. You just need to find space to store things. That's all it is. Share it in the comments below. What is your TBR number currently? Let's not talk about my digital one. That's just not. Because I'm interested in knowing, do you have any TBR clearing goals for this year? What are you doing? What are you up to? Let me know down in the comments below while you're down there commenting. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, particularly if you're interested in specifically the books I've talked about, because I might make review videos for them. You never know. In fact, I will have to, in the fullness of time, unless I unhaul them, because that's what Overbooked is. You can also follow me on social media. Come hang out on Discord, where we have a wonderful time talking about books. If you are one of my patrons, you get my monthly TBRs as a nice jazzy text post that I write up, complete with nonsense commentary that I like to write every month. So if you'd like to join their number and find out exactly what I'm planning on reading every month, that's down in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. There's gonna be some bloopers now. How have I already been going for 9 minutes? Jeez. How are there so many books on this list? Oh, everything is gonna fall down. The Twilight Robbery. Nope. Why is my brain not functioning anymore? And what is this goo on the spine?